立法會主席
The President. Government Bill, first reading.
2025年撥款條例草案
2025. Second reading, Financial Secretary. Mr. President, honorable members and fellow citizens, I move that the Appropriation Bill 2025 be read a second time. The budget is presented at the halfway stage of the current term government. Over the past year, we have seen a number of positive. Our economy has grown for 2 consecutive years. The employment market has been stable, while inflation remains moderate. Our efforts to attract talent and enterprises have been remarkably successful. The successive staging of large-scale international mega events has been coupled with a notable increase in visitor arrivals. Sentiment in the stock market continues to improve alongside a generally buoyant atmosphere across the city. Nevertheless, Hong Kong has also experienced a lot of challenges. The international geopolitical landscape has caused disruptions to trade, supply chain, cash flow, and sentiment in the investment market. Local asset prices are contained under relatively high interest rate environment, whereas the retail and catering markets are still troubled by changes in the consumption pattern of visitors and our residents. While putting Hong Kong's economic resilience to the test, these challenges signify to us the necessity to reform, innovate, and relentlessly improve in the process of economic development. Although the large-scale counter-cyclical measures launched over the last few years in response to the pandemic have helped us achieve our goal of supporting enterprises, safeguarding jobs, stabilizing the economy, and easing the burden on people, we have experienced fiscal deficit these few years as a result. Last year, revenue related to the asset market was far lower than expected due to a host of internal and external factors, and we continue to record a higher deficit this year. In this budget, I proposed a reinforced version of the fiscal consolidation program, including a cumulative reduction of government recurrent expenditure by 7% from now through 2027 to 28. Strictly containing public expenditure is a must, but we should proceed in a steady and prudent manner and be careful to find a balance among the various impacts that may arise. And there's a clear pathway towards the goal of restoring fiscal balance in the operating account and applying a progressive manner within the current term of the government. To seize the opportunities brought about by the rapid advancement of innovative and technology, we must accelerate the development of the Northern Metropolis, NM. It is an investment in our future. Given our prerequisites and capabilities, we can suitably expand the size of bond issuance on the premise of maintaining healthy public finances and use the funds raised in a proper and flexible manner to invest in Hong Kong's future and create value for our society. In the midst of global changes, technological innovation is our core engine. We must expedite our economic development, in particular boosting new economic driving forces while enhancing the competitive edge of traditional industries at an accelerated pace. Technology reform and artificial intelligence AI development are remodeling the global landscape, leading to the emergence of new industries, new forms of business, new products, and new services. We have to seize the opportunity to make the most out of this critical window to speed up our development, establishing the new before abolishing the old. Transformation and innovation will lead our way into the future, and we are poised to fast-track the high-quality development of Hong Kong's economy. I will elaborate on this a little later. Last year, Hong Kong's economic geopolitical situation, escalated trade conflicts, and elevated global interest rate exerted adverse impacts on local economic activities and confidence. Nevertheless, our country's economy is making steady progress and has rolled out measures benefiting Hong Kong one by one. Together with the government's initiatives to boost the economy and interest rate cuts by the U.S. since mid-September, they all provided support to different economic segments in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's economy recorded moderate growth of 2.5% last year. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, estimated that the global economy grew by 3.2% last year. Supported by the continuing expansion of external demand, Hong Kong's total exports of goods grew by 4.7% in real terms. As a result of our country's various measures benefiting Hong Kong, together with a large number of mega events organized throughout the year and the recovery of our air traffic capacity, the number of visitors increased by about 30% to approximately 45 million last year, boosting the travel and transport services. Other cross-boundary economic activities also improved. Total exports of services grew by 4.8% for the year. As the economy grew and the government took forward infrastructure projects, overall investment expenditure rose by 2.4%. Private consumption expenditure, however, slightly declined by 0.6% for the year as a result of changes in the consumption pattern of local residents. The labor market remained tight. The latest unemployment rate stayed low at 3.1%. The median monthly employment earnings of full-time employees grew by a solid 4.8% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of last year. Inflation was mild in overall terms. Netting out the effects of the government's one-off measures, the underlying consumer price inflation rate was 1.1% last year. Sentiment in the asset markets improved during the year, benefiting from a series of measures of the central government to support Hong Kong's capital market, as well as the rate cut cycle of the U.S. The stock market saw increases in both prices and turnover volume. The Hang Seng Index rose by 18% for the year, and the average daily turnover increased by 26%. Funds raised by new listings increased to $88 billion. The residential property market continued to adjust in the first 3 quarters of last year, but it stabilized after the interest rate cuts. For the year, the number of transactions increased by 23% to about 53,000, while property prices fell by 7%. The non-residential property market remained stagnant. Economic outlook for 2025 and the medium term. The Hong Kong economy still faces a very challenging external environment, but there are quite a few positive factors at the same time. Trade protectionism affects global trade and capital flows and dampens investment and consumer confidence and weighs on global economic growth. It is encouraging that the mainland economy continues to grow steadily. Our country's domestic and international circulation, expansion of high standard opening up, global setup of industry chains and supply chains by mainland enterprises, etc., benefit the steady development of external trade. In addition, the mainland economy is resilient and has a solid foundation. The central government's implementation of a more proactive fiscal policy and a moderately accommodative monetary policy, along with its efforts to expand domestic demand, add momentum to economic growth. The gradual easing of monetary policies by major central banks should support their economic growth. However, the economic and trade policies of the U.S. have brought uncertainties to the pace of the rate cuts this year. The European Central Bank also indicated that it would lower interest rates further if inflation broadly trends towards its target level. According to the IMF latest projections, the global economy will grow by 3.3% this year, slightly higher than last year. Against the above backdrop, Hong Kong's exports are expected to see steady performance this year. Moreover, riding on various policies and good momentum of last year, visitor arrivals should continue to increase. Together with the recovery of other cross-boundary economic activities, these should drive continuing growth in services exports. On domestic demand, investors may be more cautious due to uncertainties in the external environment. However, the expected relaxing of the global financial conditions will bode well for fixed asset investment. After last year's adjustment, private consumption shows stabilizing signs towards the end of the year. A sustained increase in residents' income and steady development of the asset markets would boost consumption further. Based on the above considerations, we forecasted Hong Kong's economy will continue to grow moderately this year, rising by 2 to 3% in real terms for the year. As for prices, it is expected that domestic cost pressures might increase as the economy continues to grow. External price pressures should remain broadly in check, though geopolitical situations may bring risks. We forecasted underlying inflation rate and the headline inflation rate this year to be 1.5% and 1.8% respectively. In the medium term, monetary policy normalization will help sustain solid growth in the global economy. The global south, in particular the mainland, will continue to be an important driver of global economic growth. Geopolitics will still bring challenges to Hong Kong's economy. However, the mainland is promoting high-quality development through scientific and technological innovation, comprehensively deepening reform, and expanding high-standard opening up. Hong Kong is also making every effort to promote market diversification and open up new growth areas, and the economy is expected to grow steadily. Under the one country, two systems principle, Hong Kong is the only place in the world that combines the global advantage and the China advantage. The current term government has been vigorously expanding economic capacity and enhancing competitiveness and achieved considerable results. As long as we actively integrate into our country's development and proactively align with national development strategies, we'll definitely continue to seize new opportunities arising from the economic development of our country and the world, creating a bright future. We forecast that Hong Kong's economy will grow on average by 2.9% a year in real terms from 2026 to 2029. The underlying inflation rate is forecast to be on average 2.5% a year, strengthening foundation to accelerate development. Hong Kong's economy has recorded moderate growth for 2 consecutive years. The government has been active in promoting innovation and technology I&T development while striving to attract more enterprises, capital, and investment institutions through diversified business promotion activities. Recently, Hong Kong has made continuous improvement in a number of economic segments. The government's efforts to build a vibrant economy and compete for enterprises and talents have yielded considerable results. 1. Buoyant stock market. The sentiment and trading performance of the local stock market improved last year. Since the beginning of this year, trading has been even more active, with average daily turnover exceeding $200 billion recently, up by more than 50% over last year's average. Total market capitalization reached $40 trillion. 2. Vibrant initial public offering IPO activities. Enterprises are increasingly confident about Hong Kong's financing prospects. Funds raised from new listings in Hong Kong amounted to $88 billion last year, a year-on-year increase of nearly 90% and ranking 4th globally. Over 100 new IPO applications are being processed by the Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited, Hong Kong X. 3. Excellence in wealth management. Hong Kong is Asia's largest hedge fund center and the second largest center for private equity management after the mainland. There are more than 470 open-ended fund companies in Hong Kong, double that of a year ago, and over 1,050 registered limited partnership funds, a year-on-year increase of about 40%. Hong Kong is expected to become the world's largest cross-boundary wealth management center by 2028. 4. Attract enterprises, capital, and talents on all fronts. Attract enterprises. Since its establishment, the Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises, OASIS, has attracted a total of 66 strategic enterprises, 80% of which have established or plan to establish their global or regional headquarters in Hong Kong. Many are I&T enterprises with a market valuation of over $10 billion and engaging in cutting-edge technologies. In addition, Invest Hong Kong successfully attracted over 500 mainland and overseas enterprises to set up or expand their businesses in Hong Kong last year, representing an increase of over 40%. These enterprises are expected to bring in direct investment of over $67.7 billion. Attract capital. As at the end of last year, total deposits in Hong Kong amounted to more than $17 trillion, a year-on-year increase of 7%. On attracting capital from emerging markets, to exchange-traded funds tracking Hong Kong stocks were listed on the Saudi exchange last year, with asset size exceeding $13 billion. Draw for talent. As at the end of last year, various talent emission schemes have received a total of over 430,000 applications and approved more than 270,000, bringing some 180,000 talents to Hong Kong. We are proactively introducing additional measures to attract more enterprises or organizations to establish their presence in Hong Kong, bringing more mega events and visitors to the city. 1. OASIS will announce a new batch of more than 10 strategic enterprises next month. Together with those previously announced, they will invest a total of about $50 billion in Hong Kong and create more than 20,000 jobs over the next few years. 2. We strive to attract enterprises from the mainland and around the world to set up headquarters or corporate divisions in Hong Kong. We have submitted a bill to LegCo for the introduction of a company redomiciliation mechanism to provide facilitation for companies domiciled overseas to redomicile in Hong Kong. 3. The headquarters of the International Organization for Mediation, IOMED, will open by the end of this year at the earliest. As the first international intergovernmental organization to set up its headquarters in Hong Kong, IOMED is also the first of its kind in the world that specializes in resolving international disputes by means of mediation. It is conducive to affirming the positioning of Hong Kong as a capital for international mediation. 4. Kai Tak Sports Park, set to open officially in 3 days, provides a world-class venue for hosting international mega events, taking forward the development of culture, sports, and tourism as an industry in Hong Kong. It is also one of the event venues of the National Games. And 5, the World Tourism Cities Federation WTCF's 2025 WTCF Fragrant Hills Tourism Summit will be held in Hong Kong for the first time in April. The summit is expected to attract representatives from some 40 countries and regions. A full range of micro events that will boost economic growth and attract more visitors to Hong Kong will be held this year. I will elaborate on the details in the relevant sections. Upholding principles and innovation and cultivating new quality productive forces. Hong Kong is facing a rather complicated international environment amid changes seen in a century around the world. The rise of protectionism and unilateralism has resulted in a fragmented global political and economic landscape. The future is trending towards cooperation among economies, sharing mutual interests, and formation of different regional segments. The vigorous development of AI is reshaping the medium to long-term global economic landscape. In particular, its development is no longer confined to a single technology domain, but penetrating into each and every industry in the form of AI+. As the global value chain undergoes profound restructuring, product design and manufacturing are moving towards further intelligentization and digitalization. This way of technological reform not only revolutionizes traditional production, business, and consumption models, but also redefines the core competitiveness of various economies, industries, and enterprises. Hong Kong finds itself at a critical juncture of its development in the face of the changing global landscape and technological transformation. The third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee on the CPC has affirmed the positioning of scientific and technological innovation as a core area of development and stressed the importance of accelerating the realization of self-reliance on high-standard technology. This points out a clear direction for Hong Kong to leverage its strength as an international platform for stepping up the development of the AI industry. The third plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee has stated that the country has to deepen reform comprehensively, advance high standard opening up, and speed up the formation of a new development landscape. We must also cultivate new quality productive forces tailored to local circumstances and promote high-quality development. To achieve this, we have to stay bold in reform, dare to break new ground, and innovate continuously and unleash the innovative and economic potential through institutional reform. Through the technological innovation, we can catalyze new modes and new impetus to accelerate the nurturing of new industries and to transform and upgrade traditional industries. At the same time, we must nurture and attract talent by better means to promote the integrated development of education, technology, and talent, which in turn provides staunch support for reform and innovation. We have to leverage the advantages under one country, two systems to better integrate into the national development and participate in the joint development of the GBA in a proactive manner. We have to reinforce our connectivity with both the mainland and the world, while leveraging synergies with overseas markets, especially those emerging in the global south. It is by doing so that we fulfill our roles as superconnector and super value adder. INT, artificial intelligence. AI is at the core of developing new quality productive forces. We would leverage the edge of one country, two systems, and our internationalized characteristic to develop Hong Kong into an international exchange and cooperation hub for the AI industry. Through frontier research and real-world application, we will endeavor to develop AI as a core industry and empower traditional industries in the upgrading and transformation. AI as a core industry. AI Supercomputing Center. We have been proactively enhancing the strategy and planning on AI development. The first phase facility of Cyberport's AI Supercomputing Center has just commenced operation, and the computing power will be ramped up gradually to 3,000 petaflops this year. This is equivalent to the processing capacity of nearly 10 billion images in an hour. Hong Kong Microelectronics Research and Development Institute, established last September, spearheads collaboration among universities, R&D centers, and the industry on the R&D of third-generation semiconductor core technology. The institute leverages the GBA's well-developed manufacturing industry chain and enormous market and promotes the one-to-end transformation of R&D outcomes and industry development. 2 pilot lines will be set up at the microelectronics centers in Yuen Long this year and start operating next year. To spearhead and support Hong Kong's innovation R&D as well as industrial application of AI, I have set aside $1 billion for the establishment of the Hong Kong AI Research and Development Institute. The Digital Policy Office DPO will formulate the establishment arrangements of the institute and its specific goals, focusing on facilitating upstream R&D, midstream and downstream transformation of R&D outcomes, and expanding application scenarios. Since its launch in October this year, In October last year, the AI subsidy scheme has approved 5 projects led by local universities, research institutions, etc. to accelerate local R&D work relating to big language models, new materials, large synthetic biology models, and so on. To bring together top talents in the industry to study the development and application of AI, the Hong Kong Investment Corporation Limited Hong Kong IC will be hosting the first International Young Scientist Forum on AI to promote research of AI technology and its development as an industry, including open source technology, in particular the design and application of the open source chip architect RISC-V. Financial and tech support to further assist specialist technology and biotechnology companies, especially those listed in the mainland, in raising funds and expanding business. The Hong Kong X is actively taking forward the establishment of a dedicated technology enterprises channel, or TEC for short, to facilitate the relevant companies in preparing for listing applications. The SFC will also support to enable a smooth application process. Intellectual property IP is an important foundation for the development of emerging industries. In addition to obtaining IP rights through local research and development, enterprises will also purchase related rights to use IP. In this connection, we will review the relevant tax deduction arrangements for various expenditures, including lump sum licensing fees for acquiring the rights to use IP and related expenses incurred on purchase of IP or the rights to use IP from associates, so as to accelerate the development of IP-intensive industries and promote the development of IP trading in Hong Kong. AI application. The Hong Kong IC will host the first international conference on embodied AI robot to pull together top-notch technology enterprises, academic institutions, and investors to showcase the latest R&D outcomes and application scenarios, thereby boosting Hong Kong's global influence on technology areas. Smart manufacturing. We enhanced the new industrialization funding scheme last year to strengthen support for local manufacturing enterprises to shift to smart manufacturing. The number of new smart production lines supported by the scheme has exceeded 100, involving industries such as biotechnology, nanofiber materials, new energy, and so on. The total investment cost is around $1.3 billion, of which $930 million came from private investment. We also launched the new Industrialization Acceleration Scheme in September last year to provide matching subsidies to enterprises to build smart production facilities in Hong Kong. The first application for the project has been approved with a total investment of about $600 million, of which government funding amounts to about $200 million. The project will build smart production facilities in the field of life and health technology. We plan to launch the 2-year pilot manufacturing and production line upgrade support scheme, Manufacturing Plus, this year. The government will provide funding of up to $1 each on a 1 to 2 matching basis to enterprises operation production lines in Hong Kong to support their formulation of smart production strategies and introduction of advanced technologies into existing production lines. I have set aside $100 million for the scheme, benefiting some 400 enterprises. Low Earth orbit satellites are the new trend in global satellite development. The relevant technologies can be widely applicable in various domains such as transport and logistics, smart city, and so on. The Commerce and Economic Development Bureau, CEDB, and the Office of the Communications Authority are exploring a set of streamlined procedures for vetting license applications for operating low Earth orbit satellites. Our target is to complete the relevant work this year. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority, Hong Kong MA, and Cyberport collaborated last year to launch a new generative and making reference to global development trend and experience in the sandbox. The government to channel more market capital to invest in emerging and future industries of the government will provide up to $30 million in funding on a 1 to 2 basis to each professional startup service agency with a view to enriching Hong Kong startups' ecosystem through their business network and experience. The government has set up the Hong Kong Space Robotics and Energy Center under the Inner Hong Kong Research Clusters with the aim of developing a multifunctional lunar surface operation robot which will contribute to the Qianhai 8's mission. Meanwhile, the government has started preparatory work for the setup of the third Inno-Hong Kong Research Cluster, which will focus on advanced manufacturing, materials, energy, and sustainable development. Proposals from institutions will soon be invited.
Technology empowering industry development. The GBA plays an important strategic role in the national scientific and technological innovation system. Among the top 100 science and technology clusters in the Global Innovation Index 2024 published by the World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO, the Shenzhen-Hong Kong-Guangzhou cluster ranked second globally for the 5th consecutive year. With our country's staunch support, the publication event for the top 100 S&T clusters in the WIPO Global Innovation Index 2025 will be held in Hong Kong later this year, giving full recognition to the global importance of Hong Kong as a GBA's core city in the field of INT. Life and health technology. The government will support local universities to set up life and health technology research institutes through the subsidy program for the setup of life and health technology research institute with a view to fostering cross-university institutional and multidisciplinary collaboration. The Innovation and Technology Commission is inviting institutions to submit proposals. The Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation is looking into the life and health technology industry's demand for manufacturing facilities that comply with the good manufacturing practices as well as feasible mode of development and operation, so as to support the industry in conducting clinical trials of new drugs or healthcare innovations in Hong Kong. Low-altitude economy. The Interdepartmental Working Group on Developing Low-Altitude Economy, established at the end of last year, is examining the applications for the first batch of regulatory sandbox pilot project and will announce the results soon. Through the pilot project, we hope to expand and enrich the scope of low-altitude flying activities, bringing new areas of growth for Hong Kong's economy. The government is reviewing civil aviation legislation to enhance the regulatory regime in support of long-term development of the low-altitude economy. We plan to introduce proposed amendments to the Small Unmanned Aircraft Order into LegCo in the second quarter of this year. We will also consider enacting dedicated legislation for various types of advanced air mobility and proactively strengthen our interface with mainland authorities on issues relating to the low-altitude economy. Technology product. We will provide local technology companies with more physical displays and sales environment for their product. The Hong Kong Trade and Development Council will add a thematic pop-up display area at the flagship retail platform, Hong Kong Design Gallery and exhibition venues during major exhibitions to showcase high-quality innovative technology products to both local and overseas buyers or consumers. Patient capital. The HKIC, as patient capital, while seeking investment return in the medium and long terms, strives to bring in more frontier technology enterprises and patient capital to Hong Kong, so as to accelerate the establishment of Hong Kong's INT ecosystem and development of upstream, midstream, and downstream sectors of the industry chains. The HKIC has so far invested in over 90 technology enterprises, engaging mainly in hard and core technology, life technology, new energy, green technology, etc. Among these investment projects, every $1 invested by the HKIC attracts $4 of long-term co-investment. The HKIC will drive these technology enterprises and investment partners to leverage Hong Kong as a platform for business expansion and encourage them to establish venture business departments in Hong Kong. This is to attract more startup investment and facilitate relevant mergers and acquisitions. Northern Metropolis. Industries and spatial distribution. The NM is crucial to the social and economic development of Hong Kong, providing impetus for the development of the INT industry, enabling more in-depth participation in the development of the GBA, while creating quality career development opportunities and living environment for our people. The government will continue to accord priority in providing resources to this initiative. Major industries include 1. INT. The Hong Kong Park of the Hetao Shenzhen Hong Kong Science and Technology Innovation Cooperation Zone, together with Sentin Technopool, will provide large tracts of INT land to leverage complementary advantages with the Shenzhen Park of the Hetao Cooperation Zone. We will also introduce new policies to facilitate cross-boundary flows of innovative elements. 2. High-end professional services and modern logistics, with the Shenzhen Bay Bridge and the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link connecting with Qianhai in Shenzhen under planning. Hongshui Qianhai New Development Area is positioned to become a high-end professional services hub for local, mainland, and overseas enterprises. Under the East-in, East-out, West-in, West-out strategy for cross-boundary goods movement between Hong Kong and Shenzhen, we will also plan logistics land strategically in the vicinity of boundary control points. 3. Tertiary education. To complement the development of Hong Kong's I&T industry and to promote Hong Kong as an international hub for tertiary education, we have reserved about 90 hectares of land in the NM for developing the Northern Metropolis University town, including the 3rd Medical School. And 4. Culture, sports and tourism. Apart from reserving land for culture and sports facilities, the NM preserves traditional villages and historical and cultural resources. We will develop culture, sports, and tourism industries, including promoting ecotourism in accordance with the unique characteristics of different localities. Innovative and diversified land development approach. To press ahead with the NM development and bring in industries and to benefit the economy and people's livelihood sooner, the government will adopt a more diversified development approach with an innovative mindset, including piloting large-scale land disposal. We're inviting the market to submit expressions of interest for 3 pilot areas under large-scale land disposal, with the target of commencing tendering progressively from the second half of this year. We will also continue to identify suitable sites for private landowners to apply for in-situ land exchange for residential and industry development. Land for innovation and technology use. The Qianhai Hong Kong Science and Technology Innovation Cooperation Zone. The Qianhai Cooperation Zone is a major cooperation platform for GPA development. It provides unique advantages in areas such as policy innovation, flow of innovation elements, and application of R&D projects. We attach great importance to its development. The Hong Kong Park will enter into operational phase this year. The first 3 buildings of Phase 1 are about to complete, and the first batch of tenants from life and health technology, AI, data science, and other pillar industries will begin to move in this year. I have earmarked $3.7 billion to expedite the provision of infrastructure and public facilities of Phase 1 development of the Hong Kong Park. Meanwhile, we will identify suitable land parcels for invitation of private development proposals this year with a view to expediting the development by leveraging market forces. Upon completion of the whole Hong Kong Park, its annual contribution to Hong Kong's economy is expected to reach $52 billion, and about 52,000 job opportunities will be created. Sandton Technopole. The Sandton Technopole is an important project for promoting I&T. 20 hectares of land will be delivered in phases starting from 2026 to 27 for development and operation by the HKSTPC. The HKSTPC is carrying out a master planning study, which is expected to be completed in the 3rd quarter of this year. Data facility cluster at Sandy Ridge. We commenced the procedures last year to rezone a 10-hectare site at Sandy Ridge in the North District for use as data centers. The rezoning procedures are expected to be completed in the middle of this year. We're actively making preparations for land disposal. Pressing ahead with land development. Last year, we have commenced 3 major projects on second phase of development for the Hongshui Hachi new development area, remaining phase development of Kutong North spanning North NDA, and the site formation and engineering infrastructure works for the first batch of land in Sandton Technopole. This year, we will start the works of Yunnan South NDA second phase development, complete the rezoning procedures for a data park site in Sandy Ridge, and finalize land use proposals for Maritime as well as New Territories North, Newtown, and Ma Long this year for commencing the environmental impact assessments and other statutory procedures. Over the next few years, there will be considerable output in residential units and industrial land in the NM. In order to support commercial and innovative development in the NM, we will also identify suitable sites there for constructing facilities to meet various conference and exhibition needs. Railway development. The construction works of Phase 1 of the Northern Link, or NOL, Kutong Station have commenced for target completion in 2027. Advanced works for Phase 2 have also commenced to tie in with the target completion of NOL Main Line in 2034. In addition, we're working with the Shenzhen authorities to jointly take forward 2 cross-boundary railway projects. The investigation and design study of the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link Hongshui to Qianhai project and the detailed planning and design of the Northern Link spur line are expected to commence this year. Strengthening industries with competitive edge. It is imperative for Hong Kong to leverage its strategic positioning as the three centers and a hub and make good use of the advantages of one country, two systems. With the resolute support of our country, we must consolidate and strengthen industries with clear advantages whilst actively nurturing and developing new industries, injecting new impetus to Hong Kong's economy such that Hong Kong can contribute to the Chinese path to modernization while realizing faster and better development. International Financial Center. Last year, Hong Kong ranked among the top 3 international financial centers and the top 4 initial public offering markets in the world. The Hong Kong stock market has been buoyant since the beginning of this year. Total assets under management amounted to over $31 trillion, with over half of the funding sourced from investors outside. The offshore RMB liquidity pool has expanded to approximately RMB 1.1 trillion. The key to consolidating and enhancing the strengths of Hong Kong as an IFC lies in institutional innovation, product innovation, a critical mass of enterprises and financial connectivity. Over the past few years, institutional reforms to the capital market, including establishing listing avenues for new economy and technology enterprises with weighted voting rights structures, facilitating fundraising by overseas issuers, etc., coupled with the government's active effort in attracting new capital overseas and expanding new markets, have injected impetus to the Hong Kong market and improved its liquidity. We're pressing ahead with high-quality development of Hong Kong's international financial market to create more new growth areas. Securities and derivatives market. Facilitating financing of overseas enterprises and specific products. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, is an important economic region that continues to grow. A number of enterprises from ASEAN are seeking to apply for listing in Hong Kong, covering businesses in areas such as biotechnology, integrated logistics, mining, etc. HKEX will step up its promotion in ASEAN and the Middle East and actively explore areas of cooperation with countries in the region, including the listing of exchange-traded funds to enrich the investment product choices in mutual markets and promote two-way capital flows. HKEX will also strive to increase the number of overseas recognized exchanges to facilitate more overseas companies' secondary listing in Hong Kong. In order to facilitate more private equity funds to list in Hong Kong, SFC has clarified the relevant regulatory requirements to encourage sizable alternative asset funds with regular income streams to raise funds. In addition, HKEX will put forward recommendations to enhance the issuance mechanism of structured products with a view to providing greater flexibility for product listing and trading, improving trading and risk management efficiency. We will continue to advance reforms to the trading mechanism. HKEX will gradually introduce new functions to its post-trading system from the middle of this year and conduct system upgrades to ensure technical compatibility with the T+1 settlement cycle by the end of this year and complete advanced preparations for shortening the settlement cycle. Riding on the reduction in minimum price spread to be implemented in the middle of this year, HKEX is reviewing with the SFC the trading unit system, or the so-called board lot system, and will put forward proposed enhancements this year so that trading arrangements can better meet liquidity characteristics of shares of different sizes and investment needs, as well as facilitating trading and improve efficiency. We have submitted the subsidiary legislation with regard to the implementation of the uncertificated securities market regime to LegCo. The SFC and HKEX are working closely with the industry to carry out system upgrades and technical preparations with a view to implementing the regime early next year. To meet the risk management needs of investors, the SFC will consult the market on the proposal to increase the position limits for key index derivatives so as to enhance flexibility for investors to use the relevant derivatives while safeguarding financial safety. Taking forward reforms to the listing regime. To dovetail with the latest economic trends and corporate needs, we will review listing requirements and post-listing ongoing obligations, evaluate listing-related regulations and arrangements to improve the vetting process, optimizing the threshold for dual primary listing and secondary listing, and review the market structure, including exploring the establishment of a post-listing over-the-counter trading mechanism. Fixed income and currency hub. The SFC and the HKMA have set up a task force to formulate a roadmap covering the development of primary and secondary bond markets and foreign exchange markets, as well as infrastructural enhancement. We will also organize a flagship forum in the second half of this year to promote Hong Kong's strengths in this regard. The government will conduct research into the current legal and regulatory regime related to the issuance and transactions of digital bonds and explore enhancement measures to promote the wider adoption of tokenization in Hong Kong's bond market. The government will regularize the issuance of tokenized bonds. The HKMA is preparing for issuing the third tranche of tokenized bonds and will continue to encourage digital bonds issuances through the Digital Bond Grant Scheme, while actively exploring tokenizing traditional bonds issued. Asset and Wealth Management Center. We have been striving to foster the development of the asset and wealth management industries. Measures implemented include the enhancement to the Cross-Boundary Wealth Management Connect in the GBA, Exchange-Traded Fund Connect, and the Mainland Hong Kong Mutual Recognition of Funds Arrangement. We will formulate proposals on the preferential tax regimes for funds, single-family offices, and carried interest this year, including expanding the scope of fund under the tax exemption regime, increasing the type of qualifying transactions eligible for tax concessions for funds and single-family offices, enhancing the tax concession arrangement on the distribution of carried interest by private equity funds, etc. We will continue to attract global capital to Hong Kong and develop a vibrant ecosystem for family offices. Invest Hong Kong has assisted over 160 family offices in setting up operations or expanding their businesses in Hong Kong. We will be hosting the third edition of the Wealth for Good in Hong Kong Summit shortly under the theme Hong Kong of the World for the World, showcasing Hong Kong's strengths as a global hub for family offices. Offshore RMB Business Center. With the prudent and steady progress of RMB internationalization, Hong Kong, as an offshore RMB business hub, will continue to enhance offshore RMB liquidity, improve the relevant infrastructure, and provide more investment product and risk management tools. The government promotes the formation of the offshore RMB yield curve by regularly issuing RMB bonds of different tenors. The Hong Kong RMB Clearing Bank has been offering 24-hour cross-border clearing service since last year, bringing convenience to banks and customers in different time zones. The current size of the currency swap agreement between the HKMA and the People's Bank of China is RMB 800 billion. The HKMA will launch an RMB trade financing liquidity facility for banks as a stable source of relatively lower cost funds so as to support banks in providing RMB trade finance services to their corporate customers. The new facility has a total size of RMB 100 billion. To promote trading of more stocks in RMB and improve market liquidity, both places are conducting technical preparations at full speed to implement the inclusion of RMB trading counter under the southbound trading of Stock Connect. In addition, HKEX is taking forward the single tranche multiple counter arrangement, including adopting the same international securities identification number for dual counter stocks so as to enhance settlement efficiency. The government has also been conducting preparatory work to allow the stamp duty payable on the transfer of stocks at RMB counters to be paid in RMB, with a view to putting forward a legislative proposal next year. Mutual market access and co-development with the mainland. We will enhance the mutual market access mechanism with the mainland, including the issuance of offshore mainland government bond futures in Hong Kong and implementing block trading of stocks and inclusion of real estate investment trusts under the mutual access as soon as possible. We will also actively explore opportunities to introduce further expansion initiatives, extend the Cross-Boundary Wealth Management Connect scheme in the GBA, improve market liquidity, and enrich the risk management toolbox. The Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau, together with OASIS and the HATDC, will host the inaugural Hong Kong Global Financial and Industry Summit this year, which will pull together global enterprises, funds, and technologies through financial empowerment, thereby elevating the level of international cooperation of industries. It will also attract more leading companies in advanced industries, domestic as well as overseas enterprises and investors to establish a foothold in Hong Kong. To promote the connection of e-payment between the mainland and Hong Kong, the PBOC and the HKMA are working closely to implement the linkage of faster payment systems of both places, with a view to providing round-the-clock real-time small-value cross-boundary remittance service for residents in both places. The service is expected to be launched in the middle of this year at the soonest. According to the second agreement concerning amendment to the mainland and Hong Kong Close Economic Partnership Arrangement Agreement on Trading Services, the restriction on the mainland branches of Hong Kong banks to conduct bank card business will be lifted starting from next month. This will facilitate them in expanding their businesses in the mainland. Fintech and financial innovation, virtual asset development. We have been actively developing the virtual asset ecosystem in Hong Kong in recent years and have been at the forefront by establishing a framework that balances regulation and market development. Consensus, an annual flagship event of the sector, was successfully held in Hong Kong recently, bringing together a few thousands of industry elite and companies from across the world in virtual assets, blockchain, Web3, and fintech, etc. This is a manifestation of global confidence in Hong Kong's vibrant development in this area. During the event, the SFC also announced a roadmap on the virtual asset market. We will soon promulgate a second policy statement on the development of virtual assets to explore how to leverage the advantages of traditional financial services and innovative technologies in the area of virtual assets, enhance security and flexibility of real economy activities, and encourage local and international companies to explore the innovation and application of virtual asset technologies. The government will conduct consultation on the licensing regimes of virtual asset over-the-counter trading services and custodian services this year. We have introduced into legislature a bill to put in place a regulatory regime for issuers of fiat-referenced stablecoins. Upon the passage of the bill, the HKMA will expedite the vetting of license applications. Gold and commodities. The Working Group on Promoting Gold Market Development will formulate a plan this year, covering measures to enhance storage facilities, optimize trading and regulatory mechanisms, expand exchange products, and conduct market promotion. The measures will be implemented gradually. London Metal Exchange, a subsidiary of HKEX, has included Hong Kong as its approved delivery point in January this year. Local warehouse operators have expressed interest in becoming its accredited warehouses. Relevant discussion is actively underway. Non-traditional risk transfer. As an international risk management center, Hong Kong has been providing diversified risk management tools. We are proactively promoting the development of insurance-linked securities by establishing a dedicated regulatory regime and launching a pilot grant scheme. To date, we have facilitated the issuance of 6 catastrophe bonds in Hong Kong, with issuance amount totaling over $5.8 billion. The industry responded favorably to the pilot scheme, and we will extend it for 3 years. MPF full portability. The Mandatory Provident Fund Schemes Authority will consult the public on specific proposals of MPF full portability this year and submit recommendations to the government thereafter, such that MPF full portability can be launched soon after full implementation of the eMPF platform. International Trade Center. As an international trade center, Hong Kong capitalizes on unique advantages and reinforces connectivity and serves as a bridge linking the mainland and global markets. It provides high-standard professional services for international trade, helping our country promote the new development pattern of dual circulation. Multinational Supply Chain Management Center, HKTDC and Invest Hong Kong jointly encourage mainland enterprises to establish a foothold in Hong Kong and set up international or regional headquarters for managing offshore trading and supply chain, thereby assisting these enterprises in going global and planning supply chains and industry chains. HKTDC will provide them with one-stop professional consulting services to help them establish market connections and understand laws and regulations in overseas markets. Hong Kong serves as an important regional trade financing center. The outstanding trade finance by banks has reached $380 billion, about 40% of which provide financing for merchandise trade outside Hong Kong. The trade financing liquidity facility recently introduced by HKMA and PBOC also provides greater flexibility for RMB trade financing. In addition, the Hong Kong Export Credit Insurance Corporation will provide credit insurance for export services relating to multinational supply chain to render more comprehensive support for enterprises seeking to go global. The government will make reference to the model law on electronic transferable records advocated by the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law and consider legislative amendments to facilitate digitalization of trade documents. We will submit the relevant legislative proposal to legislature next year. Network expansion. To expand our trade network and attract more inward investment and enterprises from the global south markets to Hong Kong, the government is following up actively with the governments of Malaysia and Saudi Arabia on the establishment of economic and trade offices in these 2 countries. In addition, Invest Hong Kong has established consultant offices in Cairo, Egypt, and Izmir, Turkey. HKTDC has also set up a consultant office in Cambodia. We are exploring the signing of investment agreements with Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, Egypt, and Peru, and conducting negotiations with 17 countries on comprehensive avoidance of double taxation agreements. Strengthen cooperation with Belt and Road countries. Hong Kong will continue to utilize our role as a functional platform for the Belt and Road Initiative. We, together with business and professional services sectors, will continue to further cultivate the ASEAN and Middle East market and explore opportunities in Central Asia, South Asia, and North Africa. HKTDC will strengthen BNR project matching, particularly on green development and INT. The BNR Summit is a flagship platform for Hong Kong to participate in and contribute to the BNR initiative. The 10th summit will be organized in September, and we will encourage different sectors to hold events around the summit period for enhancing synergies. Supporting local enterprises. To support the development of local enterprises and help them go global, we will inject $1.5 billion in total into the dedicated fund on branding, upgrading, and domestic sales, or the BUD Fund, and the Export Marketing and Trade and Industrial Organization Support Fund, and streamline application arrangements. CADB will announce details later. The government has been providing loan guarantees to businesses through the SME Financing Guarantee Scheme, as at the end of last year, a total of over $288 billion of loans has been approved under the scheme, benefiting nearly 65,000 small and medium enterprises. To meet the financing needs of SMEs during transformation, we relaunched the principal moratorium last year for 1 year, allowing enterprises to apply for principal moratorium for up to 12 months. In addition, many banks have joined the task force on SME lending jointly established by HKMA and the Hong Kong Association of Banks, committing to making flexible arrangements as far as practicable to ease the cash flow burden of SMEs. The funds dedicated for SME financing in the participating banks' loan portfolios have recently been increased to over $390 billion. To further assist local SMEs in tapping into the mainland market and increasing sales from electronic commerce or e-commerce markets, HKTDC will launch the E-commerce Express in collaboration with large-scale e-commerce platforms to provide Hong Kong enterprises with one-to-one consultation services and thematic seminars. HKTDC will also enhance its mentorship scheme together with the Trade and Industry Department. By doing so, local enterprises will better leverage e-commerce and online shopping platforms in the mainland to boost sales. In addition, HKTDC will organize the second edition of the Hong Kong Shopping Festival.
International Maritime Center. Hong Kong is the leading international maritime center. The government will embrace changes and adopt an innovative spirit to create a stronger impetus for the development of the industry, establishing Hong Kong Maritime and Port Development Board. The government will establish the Hong Kong Maritime and Port Development Board this year to strengthen relevant research, promotion, and manpower training to facilitate the sustainable development of the international maritime sector. High-value-added maritime services. In the past few years, the government has introduced a series of tax measures conducive to the development of the maritime industry. In light of changes of international tax rules, we are enhancing these measures, including introduction of tax deduction on ship acquisition costs for ship lessors under an operating lease. To drive the development of maritime services, we also propose to provide half-rate tax concession to eligible commodity traders. We will introduce a bill into LegCo in the first half of next year. Modern logistics development. The government endeavors to identify and release suitable logistics sites. The first of such logistics sites in the vicinity of the Qianhai container terminals has just been disposed of by public tender. Meanwhile, the government initiated a study on the development model for logistics sites in the NM in order to develop modern logistics clusters. Findings of the study are expected to be announced this year. Smart Port. To develop Smart Port, the government has set aside $215 million to install the port community system with a view to enhancing the flow of data among stakeholders in the maritime, port, and logistics industries. We will seek funding approval from LegCo this year. International Aviation Hub. The Hong Kong International Airport, Hong Kong IA, connects to nearly 200 global destinations. Daily passenger throughput and number of aircraft movements have largely returned to the pre-pandemic level. Air cargo throughput has topped the global ranking for multiple years. The Hong Kong IA3 runway system was commissioned at the end of last year, while the related passenger facilities will start operation by phases from the end of this year. Airport City. The Airport Authority Hong Kong, AA, has just promulgated a development plan for expanding the airport city. With the aviation industry as its focal point, the airport island as well as the land and waters in its vicinity will be utilized for the development of a new highlight project encompassing high-end commercial, art, tourism, and leisure activities. Facilitate C919's entry to international aviation market. In January this year, our country's home-developed aircraft C919 was officially deployed for scheduled flights between Hong Kong and Shanghai. The inaugural flight outside of the mainland signified a major breakthrough for home-developed aircraft to go global. Hong Kong will help C919 enter the global market. The Hong Kong International Aviation Academy will expand its training programs to cover C919 aircraft-related aspects. Aircraft Parts Processing and Trading Center. Under the coordination of Invest Hong Kong, the AA has signed a memorandum of understanding with a leading overseas professional aeronautic services company to explore the possibility of providing professional services such as aircraft dismantling, parts recycling, and related training in Hong Kong, thereby developing Hong Kong into the aircraft parts processing and trading center in Asia. Healthcare industry. Train and pool healthcare professionals. In recent years, the government has increased the number of medical training places on several locations. The number of places will increase to 650 in the 2025-26 academic year. The public healthcare sector will leverage the revised legislative framework to admit non-locally trained healthcare professionals. Enhance regulation for drugs and medical devices. The government will, in the first half of this year, put forward the timetable for establishing the Hong Kong Center for Medical Products Regulation and the roadmap towards the adoption of primary evaluation. We will also strategies and measures to facilitate R&D of drugs and medical devices. Third medical school. The task group on new medical school has invited local universities interested in setting up the third medical school to submit proposals. It expects to complete assessment and formulate recommendations to the government this year. We will set aside resources to support universities in the development of a new medical school on a merchant basis. Cultural and creative industries. The government is committed to promoting the development of cultural and creative sectors as industries. A cumulative total of over 780 projects, some of which with potential for industrialization, have been approved under the Create Smart initiative, involving a total funding of about $3.4 billion and benefiting more than 30,000 SMEs. To foster the vibrant development of the local creative industry chain, Oasis will strategically attract to Hong Kong more cultural and creative enterprises that integrate I&T into their work. Large-scale art events. The inaugural Hong Kong Performing Arts Expo concluded in October last year, featuring over 1,600 arts leaders and practitioners from more than 60 countries and regions. Organized the second edition of the expo next year, transforming the event into a flagship of our arts and cultural industries. The government will continue to attract and support the staging of international or large-scale arts and cultural events in Hong Kong through the Mega Arts and Cultural Events Fund, with a view to promoting the development of Hong Kong as an East-West center for international cultural exchange. We have updated the assessment criteria to require funded events to help promote tourism and bring economic benefits. Development of film industry. The government has always been a staunch supporter of the development of the film industry. A cumulative total of over $1.3 billion has been approved by the Film Development Fund to support more than 120 film projects. These projects involve more than 110 new directors and producers, and relevant films have won more than 180 awards. The fund has also launched a film financing scheme for mainland market to encourage Hong Kong film companies and mainland cultural enterprises to invest in and promote productions by Hong Kong directors. Cultural intellectual property. The government will support cultural IP creators and producers to propel more than 30 cultural IP projects cumulatively in the coming 5 years. We are fostering more cross-sectoral collaboration within the cultural and creative sectors so as to enhance the communication power and sales value of cultural IP products. Tourism industry. Tourism boosts local economic development and creates employment opportunities. To pursue the concept of tourism is everywhere and implement the development blueprint for Hong Kong Tourism Industry 2.0, I will allocate $1,235 million to the Hong Kong Tourism Board Hong Kong TB in the coming year. The Hong Kong TB will work with more international brands to tell the good stories of Hong Kong's tourism. For example, the Hong Kong TB signed a 3-year global strategic partnership agreement with Art Basel to establish immersive experience zones of Hong Kong culture in all 4 annual Art Basel shows around the world, strengthening Hong Kong's connection with the global art scene. We will efforts to promote a series of distinctive tourism products such as ecotourism, panda tourism, horse racing tourism, and so on, to enrich travel experiences in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong TV will continue to support the staging of more meetings, incentive travels, conventions, and exhibitions in Hong Kong, which are expected to bring about 183,000 additional visitor arrivals and spending of about $1.4 billion. I have earmarked resources to strengthen support for the cruise industry, encouraging cruise lines to increase the number of ship calls to Hong Kong, make overnight calls, and use Hong Kong as a home port. We will provide cruise lines with more concessions to attract cruise ships to berth at the Qianhai cruise terminal during the low season. Mega event economy. We will continue to promote and publicize Hong Kong as a mega events capital globally, attract more tourists to Hong Kong, and enhance their tourism experience during their stay. Qianhai Sports Park is the largest ever sports infrastructure in Hong Kong with the 50,000-seat stadium. Large-scale sports and entertainment venues will be held in the park, thereby driving visits and spending. The government has been supporting the staging of major international sports events in Hong Kong through the earmark system. We will adopt a more strategic approach in continuously attracting sports events, which can bring significant economic benefits to Hong Kong, and are in discussion with Live Golf, which has been held in Hong Kong for 2 consecutive years, to explore a long-term partnership. Announcement will be made shortly. Seize opportunities arising from resumption of multiple entry individual visit scheme. The government of the Hong Kong SAR expresses great gratitude to the central government for resuming at the end of last year the multiple entry individual visit endorsement for Shenzhen permanent residents and expanding the arrangement to Shenzhen residence permit holders. Since the implementation of the new measure, more than 700,000 visitors have traveled to Hong Kong on multiple entry individual visit endorsements. Thanks to the new measures and with an increase in the number of overseas travelers, the city is bustling with activities. Retail, catering, and other sectors all reported growth in business volume during the recent Christmas and New Year holidays. The government will make good use of the various measures to benefit Hong Kong to proactively promote the development of Hong Kong's tourism industry. Develop visitor sources from the Middle East and ASEAN. In collaboration with the Hong Kong TB, the government will make extra efforts to develop markets in the Middle East and ASEAN to attract more high-end visitors. The government is encouraging various sectors of the community to enhance tourism support facilities, such as providing worship facilities in hotels and stepping up staff training to strengthen the industry's understanding of the visitors' different cultural backgrounds. Smart tourism. The Hong Kong TB will enhance the one-stop travel information platform, Discover Hong Kong, to provide a live travel map and a smart itinerary planner so as to provide visitors with more comprehensive and personalized itinerary suggestions, travel information, and offers. Leverage harborfront resources. We are making every effort to enhance the harborfront on both sides of the Victoria Harbour. The recently opened western section of the East Coast Boardwalk in North Point has been popular among the public. The eastern section of the boardwalk, the Hong Hum Urban Park Phase 2, and the open space at Eastern Street North in Sai Ying Point will also be completed this year. We'll set up refreshment stalls at harborfront locations in Central, Wan Chai, North Point, and Tsim Sha Tsui this year in order to enrich visitor experience. The government has invited the Mass Transit Railway Corporation Limited to conduct a study to develop the waterfront and former pier sites to the south of Hong Kong Station into a new harborfront landmark. It will include iconic commercial and residential developments, retail, dining, and entertainment facilities, as well as yacht club for promoting yacht tourism. We will put forward land use proposals in the middle of this year. Education industry. Hong Kong's post-secondary education sector is highly international and diversified. We boast 5 of the world's top 100 universities and a pool of first-rate R&D talent. We will launch a new round of research matching grant scheme totaling $1.5 billion to attract more organizations to support research endeavors of institutions. The government will host more international education conferences and exhibitions to highlight Hong Kong's position as an international post-secondary education hub. We will step up the promotion of the Study in Hong Kong brand to attract more outstanding non-local students. The quota of the Hong Kong PhD Fellowship Scheme will be increased to 400 places per year. Self-financing post-secondary institutions complement publicly funded institutions in providing diversified articulation pathways for young people. The government has launched a new round of the land grant scheme and the startup loan scheme, under which land sites are granted a nominal premium with interest-free loans so as to support capacity expansion and quality enhancement of self-financing institutions.
Talent Hub, all-out efforts to draw for talents, attracting quality talents and professionals. The government makes every effort to draw for talents and will shortly invite top and leading talents to come to Hong Kong for development under the Quality Migrant Admission Scheme. We will also enhance the admission scheme for mainland talents and professionals and the general employment policy by allowing young non-degree talents with professional and technical qualifications and experience to come to Hong Kong to join skilled trades facing manpower shortage. Global Talent Summit, Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Talent Engage provides comprehensive one-stop support to incoming talents, promotes globally Hong Kong's advantages, and attracts talents. The HKTE plans to organize the second Global Talent Summit Hong Kong early next year to reinforce Hong Kong's status as an international hub for high-caliber talent. Belt and Road Scholarship. The government will continue to attract more students, especially those from ASEAN and other BNR countries, to study in Hong Kong through various measures, including the BNR Scholarship. New Capital Investment Entrance Scheme. Under the New Capital Investment Entrance Scheme, more than 880 applications have been received cumulatively, with an expected investment of over $26 billion. We will launch a series of enhancement measures shortly to provide greater flexibility under the scheme. All-out efforts to nurture talents and secondary school students' interest in INT. I have invited the HKIC, the HKSTPC, and Cyberport to coordinate the efforts of more than 100 technology enterprises under their purview to engage in interactions and exchanges with students. Experience in technology through organizing product display in schools, site visits, etc. And practical materials for technology education such as coding and AI learning in schools with a view to further enhancing young people's interest in INT application through integrating theoretical learning and practical application. Enhancing collaboration with cities in the Greater Bay Area, medical cooperation. The joint establishment of the GBA clinical trial collaboration platform by Hong Kong and Shenzhen is one of the benchmark collaboration projects in the. We're seeking to establish the real-world study and application center by the end of this year. With the special measure of using Hong Kong registered drugs and medical devices used in Hong Kong public hospitals, we aim to accelerate approval for registration of new drugs in Hong Kong, the mainland and overseas, fostering R&D, clinical trials, advanced biomedical technology in Hong Kong. The Hong Authority, through various programs, invites healthcare professionals, including those from the mainland, especially the GBA, for professional and with local healthcare personnel to foster mutual professional enhancement and, in the long run, establish a regional healthcare tool. Data flow and exchange. The facility measure on the standard contract for the cross-boundary flow of personal information within the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, mainland, helps promote the safe and orderly cross-boundary flow of authorized personal information. Been well received by the telecommunications sector since its launch. The measure has already been opened up for participation by other sectors. Financial cooperation. The HKMA and the PBOC signed the memorandum of understanding on cross-boundary credit referencing pilots last year on a pilot basis between Shenzhen and Hong Kong. The initiative has received feedback from the industry. We will progressively expand the pilot coverage to facilitate cross-boundary financing for enterprises. Youth exchange. The Labor Department has since this year relaxed the requirement of joining the GBA Youth Employment Scheme to young people aged 29 or below with some or higher qualification, and increased the limit of allowance to $12,000 per month per person for up to 18 months. Cooperation in transport and logistics. At the end of last year, the AA and the Qianhai Transportation Holdings signed the agreement of shares acquisition concerning the equity acquisition of Qianhai Port, which provides a reinforced function for passenger and cargo connectivity between the airports. Separately, 21 airlines and 125 companies have participated in the Sea Air Intermodal Cargo Transshipment mode under the cooperation and Dongguan. It is expected that the first phase construction of the permanent facility for the Phase 1 development of the logistics park in Dongguan will be completed this year, and the preliminary study of the Phase 2 development will commence shortly. Cooperation relating to construction industry. The Building Research Institute established last year is comparing and complementing the testing and certification requirements between and cost-effective construction materials. Moreover, the Institute will closely liaise with the counterparts concerned in Guangdong Province for commencing a strategic study on standards in the GBA soon. We are actively collaborating with the Guangdong Province to leverage complementary advantages of modular integrated construction, or MIC, methods and develop MIC as an industry in the GBA. Efforts will be dedicated to R&D, quality accreditation, and international marketing of MIC. We have, in collaboration with Guangdong Province, successfully established the professional title evaluation mechanism for the first batch of Hong Kong engineering professionals. The mechanism will be gradually extended to other construction-related professions with the right conditions. We will also collaborate with Guangdong Province and Macau SAR to formulate GBA standards on the skill levels for skilled workers and technicians of the construction sector and take forward the one examination, multiple certification arrangement. We will announce the GBA standards for the first pilot scheme in due course. Is taking forward its work in setting up a dedicated platform for GBA lawyers to provide better support to the business development and brand building of lawyers. The DOJ will also actively promote the establishment of a GBA legal information platform to enhance legal information exchange. Development of Qianhai. The Qianhai-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Modern Service Industry Cooperation Zone is one of the major cooperation platforms in the GBA. Since the promulgation of the overall development plan for the Qianhai-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Modern Service Industry Cooperation Zone, Hong Kong-Shenzhen cooperation has achieved substantive progress in various policy areas. For example, the turnover of Qianhai Mercantile Exchange, a subsidiary of HAEX, exceeded RMB 100 billion over the year. It operates our country's only offshore spot trading platform for soybeans. On the basis of the successful implementation of the measure of allowing Hong Kong investment enterprises to adopt Hong Kong law in Qianhai, the DOJ collaborated with the relevant mainland authorities and achieved the extension of the above measure and of allowing Hong Kong investment enterprises to choose Hong Kong as the arbitration place to other pilot cities in the GBA, providing Hong Kong investors with a more facilitative business environment. Cyberport has been actively collaborating with the Qianhai Management Authority to facilitate the landing of startup enterprises at respective parks. So far, some 10 Cyberport enterprises are exploring setting up their operations in Qianhai, whilst 2 enterprises on AI and digital entertainment from Qianhai have established businesses at Cyberport. Hong Kong will continue to support Qianhai in trying out new policies on a pilot basis and pursuing more policy innovation and breakthroughs with a view to promoting the successful policies to the rest of the GBA and even the entire country. Accelerating green development. Green industries. Development of green industries is a major international trend and key to addressing global climate change. The combination of green finance and green technology will accelerate the build-up of multifaceted industry clusters, thereby creating huge business opportunities and financing needs, and making contribution to green transformation and development. Green finance. We launched the Sustainable Finance Action Agenda last year, setting out goals for the banking industry to achieve net zero. We also launched the Roadmap on Sustainability Disclosure in Hong Kong. It provides a well-defined pathway for large publicly accountable entities to adopt the International Financial Reporting Standards, Sustainability Disclosure Standards no later than 2028. This will make Hong Kong one of the first jurisdictions to align its local requirements with the standards. To continuously support local green finance talent training, we will extend the pilot green and sustainable finance capacity building support scheme to 2028. Over 5,700 applications have been approved under the scheme. Green technology. The HKSTPC will develop the inner center in Kowloon Tong into a leading green technology hub, Green Tech Hub, bringing together more than 200 green technology companies. The HKSTPC will invite financial and business institutions, universities, institutions supporting business, etc., to become partners of the admitted companies and provide support such as talent training, testing, and application scenarios and business matching. Green shipping. The government will provide tax exemption for green methanol used for bunkering. Meanwhile, the government will implement the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering to develop Hong Kong into a green maritime fuel bunkering center. Green aviation. To provide support for the decarbonization of the international and local aviation industry, we are promoting the application of sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, at the HKIA. The AA completed a relevant study last year. We will announce an SAF consumption target this year. Green city. Waste reduction and recycling. To enhance waste reduction at source, the government will allocate an additional funding of $180 million for increasing the number of residential food waste smart recycling bins and food waste collection facilities across the city, as well as expanding the recycling network and increasing waste recovery. Waste to energy. iPark 1, Hong Kong's first waste-to-energy facility for treating municipal solid waste, is expected to commence operation this year. Moreover, we have invited the open tender for iPark 2, the second large-scale facility with an expected treatment capacity of 60,000 tons per day. It is a major step towards zero landfill. Charging network for electric vehicles. There are more than 100,000 electric vehicles in Hong Kong, about 8 times of that 5 years ago. The government will launch a $300 million subsidy scheme in the middle of this year. It is expected that the scheme will provide impetus for the industry to install 3,000 fast chargers across Hong Kong by 2030 to be used by 160,000 additional electric vehicles. Green transformation of public buses and taxis. The government has announced the Green Transformation Roadmap of public buses and taxis and earmarked $470 million under the New Energy Transport Fund to subsidize franchised bus operators in purchasing about 600 electric buses. Also, $135 million were earmarked to subsidize the taxi trade in purchasing 3,000 electric taxis. In addition, the funding scheme to trial of hydrogen fuel cell heavy vehicles is now open for application. Smart and green mass transit systems. Last year, the government invited expressions of interest for the Smart and Green Mass Transit System project in Kai Tak, East Kowloon, and Hong Shou Kyu Ha Chun and Yuen Long South NDAs. The government will continue to take forward the project with an innovative mindset and strive to invite tenders for the Kai Tak project this year and the East Kowloon and Hong Shou Kyu Ha Chun and Yuen Long South NDAs project next year, respectively. Sustainable development of agriculture and fisheries industries. We will continue to take forward the blueprint for the sustainable development of agriculture and fisheries to assist the upgrading and transformation of the agriculture and fisheries industries. The government has reserved a site in Sheungshui for the agriculture sector to set up the first multi-story, modernized, and environment-friendly livestock farm. For the fisheries sector, the first batch of marine fish culture licenses at Wong Chuk Kok Hoi and Mears Bay will be issued in the middle of the year, the earliest. We are also proactively working to establish a brand building and certification system for leisure fisheries and farming, as well as local agricultural and fisheries produce. Land and housing supply. We need a sufficient supply of land to create the capacity for supporting the development of new industries, injecting new impetus into our economy, and providing a better living and leisure environment for our people. The government will closely monitor market situation and development and roll out sites in a paced and orderly manner, having learned from past experience that land shortage would constrain Hong Kong's development. We must persist with our work on planning and land creation. The pace of rolling out sites to the market can be adjusted in the light of actual circumstances. The commercial property market has been facing considerable challenges in the past few years, in view of the high vacancy rate of offices in recent years and the relatively ample supply. In the next few years, the government will not roll out any commercial site for sale. In the coming year, to allow the market to absorb the existing supply, we will also consider rezoning some of the commercial sites into residential use and allowing greater flexibility of land use. To tie in with the relevant work, we will also extend the deadline for completing in situ land exchange for commercial sites in the town center of Hongshueqiu Hachun NDA. The land sale list of the coming year comprises 8 residential sites. There will also be railway property development projects undertaken by the Urban Renewal Authority, as well as private development and redevelopment projects. Taken together, the potential land supply for the whole year is expected to have a capacity for providing about 13,700 units, similar to the projected annual demand for private housing as announced in the long-term housing strategy. The sale arrangements will be announced on a quarterly basis, having regard to market situation and relevant circumstances. We will prepare land for the production of about 80,000 private housing units in the coming 5 years. About 65% of the land comes from the NM and the Tongchong New Town extension. The above projection has yet to take into account the supply from development projects undertaken by the URA and other private development projects. Housing supply. On public housing supply, the government has identified sufficient land for meeting the supply target of 308,000 public housing units over the next 10 years. Coupled with light public housing, the total public housing supply in the coming 5 years will reach 190,000 units, which is about 80% higher than that of the first 5-year period since the current term government took office. On private housing supply, it is estimated that the completion of private residential units will be, on average, over 17,000 units annually in the coming 5 years, representing a decrease of about 8% over the annual average of the past 5 years. The potential supply of first-hand private residential units for the next 3 to 4 years will be around 107,000 units. Infrastructure development, transport infrastructure. The government will strive to commence the detailed planning and design of the South Island Line West project this year. The construction works of the remaining sections of Route 6, namely the Central Kowloon Route and Trunk Road T2 and Cha Kuo Lang Tunnel, are entering the final stage. The Central Kowloon Route project is expected to be completed by the end of this year, while Route 6 will be fully commissioned next year. Professional development of construction industry. I have set aside $15 million for the work of the Center of Excellence for major project leaders over the next 2 years to enhance the professionalism, innovation capabilities, and cost-effectiveness management of the construction industry. The center will organize summits and various events to promote exchanges and cooperation transcending geographical and sectoral boundaries. To attract more young people to join the construction industry, we and the Construction Industry Council will jointly allocate funding totaling about $95 million to continue the provision of on-the-job training subsidies to trainees enrolling in part-time construction-related degree programs over the next 2 academic years. It is anticipated to benefit about 1,000 trainees. The CIC will allocate around $150 million to subsidize the construction industry to provide on-the-job training for about 2,500 graduates of degree programs in engineering, architecture, surveying, planning, and landscape architecture. This will assist more young people in obtaining professional qualifications. A caring and inclusive community, support for youth. The government has just raised the upper age limit for participants of the Youth Employment and Training Program to 29 and introduced workplace attachment opportunities in the GBA to help young people enhance their employability. The estimated expenditure for the program next year is about $100 million. In the coming year, we plan to offer around 4,000 short-term internship placements in bureaus and departments and public organizations for tertiary students. Students who aspire to pursue a career in public service may take the opportunity to broaden their horizons and better plan for their future career development. Long being startup program on people to trial their business plans. The program has received ardent support from different sectors of the community. The program and appeal to private landlord support. Caring for the elderly, the government care service voucher scheme for the elderly by 1,000 to 6,000 in total. For the elderly by 1,000 to 12,000 in total, involving and $900 million respectively. The work in 5 areas, namely boosting silver consumption, developing silver $70,000 persons, inclusive of some 17,000 children. In 2025 to 26, the estimated expenditure for the scheme is about $2.1 billion. The government has increased the rates of the household and child allowances under the scheme by 15% across the board with effect from April last year. Child protection. The mandatory reporting of child abuse ordinance will come into effect next January, creating a wider protection web for children. The government will provide an additional annual provision of $186 million to increase emergency places for residential child care and strengthen professional support for child abuse victims and their families. Support for persons with disabilities. The government will set up 14 integrated community rehabilitation centers across the territory in phases to provide persons with disabilities who require medium to high-level care with flexible and integrated community support services through a case management approach. Besides, 1,280 additional day community rehabilitation and home care service places will be provided for persons with disabilities, involving about $160 million additional annual expenditure. Starting from the third quarter of this year, the government will regularize the pilot project on enhancing vocational rehabilitation services to provide training to persons with disabilities according to their personal interest and abilities to enhance their employment opportunities. The annual expenditure involved is about $100 million, and it is expected to benefit about 10,000 people. Women's development. The government is committed to women's development and launched the Women Empowerment Fund in June 2023 with an annual funding of $20 million. To date, the fund has provided funding support to women's groups and non-governmental organizations for launching over 240 projects, empowering women to excel. This year, a 2-year pilot mentorship program will be launched, pairing female university students with women leader mentors to promote women's workplace development. District services and community care teams. Last year, the chief executive announced that the government would regularize the establishment of district services and community care teams and increase the funding by 50% in the next term of service. Since the launch of the community care teams, they have paid visits to about 390,000 households and provided around 43,000 times of support services. The government will further enhance the provision of caring services. Enhancement of public healthcare system. To develop public health primary health care, the government will upgrade the district health center expresses in Central and Western District, Eastern District, and Yaoqing District into district health centers this year, with a view to strengthening the community healthcare system. The government is progressively implementing and completing the 16 Works project, which entail a total of about $190 billion under the first hospital development plan. Taking into account the latest demographic structure, planning, and development situation in Hong Kong, we will review the distribution, scale, and priority of projects under the second hospital development plan and will make the announcement in due course. Furthermore, the government and the HA are reviewing the structure and levels of subsidization for public health care with a view to strengthening the financial sustainability of public health care services and providing better support for patients with serious or critical conditions as well as those with financial difficulties. The outcome of the review will be announced this year. Combating illegal betting. In recent years, quite some members of the public have expressed concerns about the problem of illegal basketball betting in Hong Kong. According to the latest assessment of the Hong Kong Jockey Club, the turnover of illegal basketball betting reached $70 billion to $90 billion last year. To combat illegal betting activities in an effective manner, the government will explore regulating basketball betting activities and invite HKJC to submit a proposal.
Public finance. The government has been adhering to the principle of keeping the expenditure within the limits of revenues as enshrined under Article 107 of the Basic Law and strives to achieve fiscal balance over a period of time to ensure the resilience and sustainability of our public finances. Let me elaborate on the government's current fiscal position. Government revenue and expenditure are broadly presented in two major accounts, namely the operating account and the capital account. The revenue of the operating account mainly comes from various types of tax revenue, investment income, government fees and charges, and so on, while its expenditure is largely attributed to the government's daily expenses. As for the capital account, its revenue is mainly land-related, while its expenditure largely involves infrastructure works projects and land acquisition. In view of the different composition and nature of the operating account and the capital account, we have to manage them separately with different fiscal targets and methods. The operating account should be managed on the basis of keeping expenditure within the limits of revenues with a target of achieving a surplus. As for the capital account, expenditure on infrastructure works is our investment for the future. For instance, the annum development, which will bring economic and social benefits upon completion, has to be taken forward to meet the needs for social and economic development. However, as revenue is susceptible to economic cycles, there may be a shortfall between revenue and expenditure. Under such circumstances, we can utilize the surplus in the operating account or our fiscal reserves as support or make flexible use of market resources, including various forms of public-private partnership and bond issuance. We forecast that the operating account will largely achieve balance in 2025 to 26 and return to a surplus starting from 2026 to 27. The capital account is estimated to record a deficit in the medium-range forecast period, for short MRF, due to the accelerated development of the NM and other public works projects relating to the economy and people's livelihood. Nevertheless, the level of deficit will decline year on year from 2026 to 27 onwards. Revised estimate for 2024 to 25. The 2024 to 25 revised estimate on total government revenue is $559.6 billion, lower than the original estimate by 11.6%. Among them, revenues from province tax and salaries tax remain stable at $177.7 billion and $88 billion respectively, comparable to the original estimates, demonstrating the strong resilience of Hong Kong economy. However, as the asset market is under pressure, government revenues from land premium and stamp duties have declined. Revenue from land premium is $13.5 billion, substantially lower than the original estimate by $19.5 billion. Revenue from stamp duties of $58 billion is lower than the original estimate by $13 billion. Government expenditure for 2024 to 25 is comparable to the original estimate. The revised estimate of total government expenditure for 2024 to 25 is $754.8 billion, lower than the original estimate by $22.1 billion. Of this, the recurrent expenditure is $562.5 billion, lower than the original estimate by $17.7 billion. Taking into account the issuance of government bonds of $130 billion and repayments of $22.1 billion, it is expected that there will be a consolidated deficit of $87.2 billion for 2024 to 25. Fiscal reserves are expected to be $647.3 billion by the 31st of March 2025. Estimates for 2025 to 26. Looking ahead to 2025 to 26, the government will continue to provide resources for consolidating momentum for economic growth, promoting the accelerated development of I&T industries, and enhancing public services. We will also increase capital works expenditure to cater for the NM and other public works projects relating to the economy and people's livelihood so as to support the sustained economic development of Hong Kong. The major policy initiatives announced in the 2024 policy address involve operating expenditure of $8.1 billion and capital expenditure of $14.1 billion. The financial implications of such initiatives have been reflected in the estimate for 2025 to 2026. Total government expenditure for 2025 to 26 will increase by 8.9% to $822.3 billion, with its ratio to nominal GDP projected to be 24.4%. Recurrent expenditure for 2025 to 26 will increase by 4.5% to $588.1 billion. Of this, substantial resources will still be allocated to livelihood-related policy areas, including healthcare, social welfare, and education, involving a total of $348.6 billion, representing about 60% of recurrent expenditure. Non-recurrent expenditure will decrease by 3.4% to $36.1 billion. Total government revenue for 2025 to 26 is estimated to be $659.4 billion, while earnings and profits tax are estimated to be $301.2 billion, increasing by 8.4% over the revised estimate for 2024 to 2025. On the basis of the land sale program and land supply target of 2025 to 26, revenue from land premium is estimated to be $21 billion, increasing by 55.3% over the revised estimate for 2024 to 25. Having regard is estimated to be $67.6 billion, increasing by 16%. We will bring back about $62 billion from six endowment reserve will decrease to $580.3 billion. Support measures. Having regard to the pressure faced by some industries and the people, the government's fiscal situation, we will introduce the following measures. 1. Provide raised concession for domestic properties for the first quarter of 2025-26, a ceiling of $500 for each rateable property. This measure will involve 3.12 million domestic properties and reduce government revenue by $1.5 billion. 2. 2. Provide rates concession for non-domestic properties for the first quarter of 2025-26, subject to a ceiling of $500 for each rateable property. This measure will involve 430,000 non-domestic properties and reduce government revenue by $200 million. 3. Reduce salary tax and tax under personal assessment for the year of assessment 2024-25 by 100%, subject to a ceiling of $1,500. The reduction will be reflected in the final tax payable for the year of assessment 2024-25. This measure will benefit 2.14 million taxpayers and reduce government revenue by $2.9 million. 4. Reduce profits tax for the year of assessment 2024-25 by 100%, subject to a ceiling of $1,500. The reduction will be reflected in the final tax payable for the year of assessment 2024-25. The measure will benefit 165,400 businesses and reduce government revenue by $200 million. And 5. Provide an allowance to eligible Social Security recipients equal to 1/2 of a month of the standard rate comprehensive Social Security assistance (CSSA) payments, old age allowance, old age living allowance, or disability allowance, while similar arrangements will also apply to recipients of the working family allowance, altogether involving an additional expenditure of about $3.1 billion. To ease the burden on buyers of residential and non-residential properties at lower values, I announced that the maximum value of properties chargeable to a stamp duty of $100 will be raised from $3 million to $4 million with immediate effect. This measure is expected to benefit about 15% of property transactions and reduce government revenue by about $400 million annually. Reinforcing fiscal consolidation program. To uphold the principles of fiscal prudence, I recommend reinforcing the fiscal consolidation program as put forward in last year's budget. The key is managing expenditure growth, making good use of the government's fiscal resources, and identifying new revenue resources. Our principles are: 1. To focus on strictly controlling government expenditure, supplemented by increasing revenue. Regardless of increasing revenue or cutting expenditure, the impact on the general public should be minimized. In particular, the government will lead by example to demonstrate our commitment in cutting expenditure, while ensuring the delivery of high-standard public services. The government will also continue to press ahead with infrastructure works projects in the NM and those related to the economy and people's livelihood. 2. To maintain the competitiveness of Hong Kong's simple and low-tax regime and to avoid considerable increase in tax rates or introducing new taxes. 3. To uphold the principles of user pays and those who can afford more pay more, as far as practicable while increasing revenue. Strictly containing the growth of government expenditure, operating expenditure. We will step up efforts to contain government operating expenditure. I have instructed all bureaus and departments to further review the resource allocation and work priorities and provide public services in a more cost-effective manner through consolidating internal resources, streamlining procedures, and leveraging technology. On the premise of maintaining efficient public services, we will implement the following measures. 1. Stepping up the productivity enhancement program. On the premise that CSSA, Social Security allowance, and statutory expenditure would not be affected, the rate of reduction of recurrent government expenditure will be increased from the original 1% to 2% in 2025-26. This arrangement will be extended for 2 more years to 2027-28. Taking into account the 1% cut in 2024-25, the cumulative rate of reduction will be 7% in total. Using 2023-24 recurrent expenditure as the basis, it will deliver a saving in recurrent government expenditure of around $3.9 billion, $11.7 billion, $19.5 billion, and $27.3 billion in the respective financial years. 2. In view of the reduction in expenditure and enhancement in manpower utilization, the civil service establishment will be reduced by 2% each in 2026-27 and 2027-28. By the 1st of April 2027, about 10,000 posts are expected to be deleted within this term of government. And 3, the government will provide funding of $68.1 billion to the University Grants Committee UGC-funded university in the coming 3 years. This funding has reflected a 2% reduction target each year, which is in line with the magnitude of government's recurrent expenditure cuts. I must stress that this funding level is still higher than the $63.2 billion in the last triennium. In last year's budget, I have requested that the relevant bureaus review the operation of 2 transport subsidy schemes that incur relatively high expenditure with a rapid growth rate, namely the government public transport fare concession scheme for the elderly and eligible persons with disabilities, or the $2 scheme for short, and the public transport fare subsidy scheme, or PTFSS for short. In order to enable the continued operation of the schemes in a financially sustainable manner, we propose the following adjustments after review. 1. The $2 scheme. On the basis that the targeted beneficiaries remain unchanged, the government will change the concessionary fare to $2 flat rate cum 80% discount. This means the beneficiaries will continue to pay $2 for trips with fares below or equal to $10. For trips with fares above $10, beneficiaries will have to pay the amount of full fares after 80% discount. Furthermore, the number of concessionary trips will also be limited to 240 per month. This fine-tuned proposal preserves our policy intent while striking a balance between enhancing the sustainability of the scheme and minimizing the impacts on the beneficiaries. And 2, on the PTFSS. From June 2025 onwards, the threshold of monthly public transport expenses incurred for receiving a subsidy under the scheme will be raised from $400 to $500. The government will continue to provide a subsidy amounting to 1/3 of the expenses in excess of $500, and the prevailing subsidy cap at $400 per month will remain unchanged. The relevant policy bureaus will announce the details later. Upon implementation of the refined arrangements, the government is expected to save $6.2 billion in the coming 5 years. To assist bureaus and departments in reducing expenditure and ensure the proper use of public money, I have requested 1. The Audit Commission to organize workshops for the senior management of government departments and public bodies. Through sharing experience and case studies on its value for many audits, the Commission seeks to foster the management's understanding and adoption of principles and best practices in fiscal prudence and optimal use of public money. 2. The Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau to review and enhance the government's procurement regime. We expect that the new arrangements will be introduced in mid-2025 so as to facilitate departments to procure quality goods and services at a reasonable price through an open and fair framework. And 3, the relevant bureaus to review the expenditures on social welfare, healthcare, and education. The recurrent expenditure on each of these 3 areas amounts to more than $100 billion in this financial year. The government should, having regard to demographic changes in Hong Kong, optimize resources and review the sustainability of the use of resources. In addition, the government puts forward that for 2025-26, the executive authorities, the legislature, judiciary, and members of the district councils take a pay freeze. This includes the chief executive and politically appointed officials, the non-official members of the executive council, members of the civil service, the president, all members and secretariat of the legislature, chief justice of the court of final appeal, judges of the courts at all levels, and other members of the judiciary and members of the district councils. Capital works expenditure. Overall construction costs have gone up in recent years. The government will strive to enhance control on cost effectiveness when pressing ahead with infrastructure works projects. I have requested the Project Strategy and Governance Office (PSGO) under the Development Bureau to support various departments in enhancing governance of public works projects on all fronts. PSGO scrutinizes project cost estimates upon inception of a project and optimizes project design in accordance with the principle of fitness for purpose and no frills. PSGO also formulates cost-effective proposals in coordination with the relevant policy bureaus and works departments in order to reduce construction costs. Since its setup, PSGO has reviewed over 540 public works projects, achieving savings in construction costs by over 15%. Meanwhile, PSGO is coordinating the relevant work on reducing construction costs. This includes formulating policies for the procurement of construction materials and products, such as MIC modules and steel reinforcement, through direct procurement by relevant works departments and centralized procurement by a single department. PSGO will also study the use of new materials and innovative construction technologies by drawing reference from the mainland and overseas practices and experience. All these efforts aim to help departments to reduce project costs, enhance cost effectiveness, and ensure timely completion of public works projects. Furthermore, the government is reviewing the scale and mode of delivery of district cooling systems in NDA, such as Hongshui Qianhai and Sentin Technopop, to tie in with the development of the area with greater cost effectiveness. The preliminary estimate of savings in terms of works expenditure is at least $40 billion. The Environment and Ecology Bureau will report the review results in the second quarter this year. Consolidating and optimizing the use of government financial resources. Bureaus and departments set up funds outside the government's accounts for specific purposes from time to time in the light of their policy needs. Currently, there are a total of 42 such funds with an aggregate only use investment returns to meet their expenditure, that is, seed capital funds. With different monitoring frameworks and investment strategies, these seed capital funds lock up an enormous amount of public financial resources. To enable the government to make more flexible and effective use of these resources, we have reviewed the financial arrangements of these seed capital funds. We propose bringing back first 6 funds with relatively large unspent balance totaling about $62 billion to the government's accounts in 2025-26, after setting aside resources to meet the necessary expenditure of these funds for the next 5 years so that it will not affect their sustainable operation. This will provide a more comprehensive picture of the government's fiscal position and enable better use of its financial resources. We will also require the relevant bureaus to examine the financial arrangements of other seed capital funds. We have reviewed the utilization of the Anti-Epidemic Fund. Taking into account the expenditure requirements, the fund has a remaining balance of about $15 billion, which will be brought back to the government's accounts next month. This sum has been reflected in the revised estimate for 2024-25. Enhancing public service efficiency. The government has all along endeavored to deliver more efficient public services to citizens through leveraging technology, streamlining processes, and driving the digital transformation of public services. We are striving to realize single portal for online government services with a view to providing a one-stop shop for citizens to obtain information, apply for services, and settle bills. Since the launch of the I Am Smart mobile app, the number of registered users has exceeded 3.2 million. I Am Smart connects about 500 services of the government as well as public and private organizations and provides nearly 600 electronic government forms. The DPO is planning to progressively implement a digital corporate identity platform before the end of next year. This will enable Hong Kong enterprises to undergo corporate identity authentication and digital signature process in a secure and convenient manner when using electronic government services or conducting online business transactions. This measure will facilitate digital transformation of enterprises and help enhance government departments' efficiency in processing online applications. The Transport Department will roll out a number of electronic licensing services, including electronic driving licenses, progressively from the middle of this year to early next year. The department will continue to launch various electronic permits and integrated user-friendly online services. It also plans to introduce a bill into Legico on electronic driving license in the first half of this year to provide the option of displaying driving licenses through dedicated applications on smartphones. The Housing Bureau has selected 10 public rental housing estates as a pilot site for smart estate management to adopt more technologies such as Internet of sensors in daily estate management. It will also launch a centralized estate management platform this year to enhance management efficiency and service quality. The Development Bureau is driving digitalization of public works in full swing. Personnel in various fields to enhance work efficiency, cost effectiveness, site safety, and works quality. The Civil Service College will enhance the content on technology application in civil service leadership training, equipping departmental leaders to optimize their information technology systems, better utilize big data and AI, and arrange appropriate training for their staff. Increasing revenue. For some time in the past, some government fees and charges have not been adjusted in accordance with the established mechanisms. As a result, these fees and charges are not pegged to their costs and fail to reflect the user pays principle. I am going to introduce the following measures. 1. The rate of air passenger departure tax will be increased from $120 to $200 per passenger starting from the third quarter of 2025 to 26. It is anticipated that the government revenue will increase by about $1.6 billion per year. The impact on air passengers is expected to be minimal. 2. An application fee of $600 will be charged for capital investor emission schemes with immediate effect. The visa fees to be charged based on the duration of limit of stay will be raised to $600 or $1,300. It is estimated that government revenue will increase by about $620 million per annum. 3. The government has cancelled the tolls for some major tunnels and strategic routes 3 years ago, and the tolls for some government tunnels have not been adjusted for over 3 decades. Considering the fact that the government has invested heavily in building these infrastructures, the Transport and Logistics Bureau will review the tolls of relevant government tunnels and trunk roads to embody the user pays principle. The government will also review the annual license fee for electric private cars, parking meter charges, as well as the fixed penalties for traffic offenses for better traffic management. Based on preliminary estimation, the relevant adjustments could generate about $2 billion additional revenue per annum. 4. We will explore introducing a boundary facilities fee on private cars departing via land boundary control points. Coaches, goods vehicles, and so on will not be affected. Taking a fee of $200 per private car as an example, the measure will bring in revenue of about $1 billion per annum. And 5. In January 2025, we submitted a bill to Legico on the implementation of the global minimum tax proposal drawn up by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development to address base erosion and profit shifting. We aim to apply the global minimum tax rate of 15% on large multinational enterprise groups with an annual consolidated group revenue of at least €750 million and impose a Hong Kong minimum top-up tax. Subject to the passage of the bill, the proposal will bring in tax revenue of about $15 billion for the government annually, starting from 2027 to 28.
Bond issuance. In the coming years, projects related to the NM will be rolled out progressively, together with other important infrastructure works projects aimed at improving people's livelihood. The capital works expenditure of the government will start reaching its peak. In the MRF, capital works expenditure is expected to increase from the previously estimated $90 billion per annum on average to about $120 billion per annum on average in future. To ensure that these strategic infrastructure works projects can proceed on schedule and deliver early benefits to the economy and the public, we will leverage market resources more flexibly, including adopting more diverse development models to take forward the relevant projects such as more public-private partnerships, in situ land exchanges, pilot areas for large-scale land disposal, etc. We will also raise capital by issuing government bonds with a view to ensuring that the progress of projects crucial to the future development of Hong Kong will not be impeded by the fiscal position. Issuing government bonds is one of the public financial management tools. Issuing bonds to support infrastructure development is a common practice worldwide. As long as the amount of bonds issuance is contained at a level that ensures fiscal prudence, capital can be utilized flexibly and for investing in future economic development, bringing greater returns and benefits to society. Hong Kong has the prerequisite and capability to suitably increase bond issuance, thereby effectively utilizing market resources. With the increase in capital works expenditure, I will expand the scale of bond issuance accordingly. It is expected that during the 5-year period from 2025 to 26 to 2029 to 30, a total of about $150 billion to $195 billion worth of bonds will be issued under the government sustainable bond program and the infrastructure bond program every year. About 56% of the bonds issued will be used for refinancing short-term debts. We expect the borrowing ceiling of the above two bond programs will increase from the existing level of $500 billion to $700 billion in the MRF period. The ratio of government debt to GDP will stay at 12 to 16.5%, which is a prudent and manageable level, and is much lower than most of the advanced economies. I emphasize that proceeds from bond issuance will be used to invest in infrastructure, but not to fund government recurrent expenditure, which is the fiscal discipline that we have been strictly adhering to. Apart from leveraging market capital to support infrastructure works projects, the government issues bonds with the aim of fostering the development of the bond market. On the other hand, economic activities and development of industries driven by infrastructure investments will generate new development opportunities and revenues to Hong Kong. Issuing longer-term bonds to support longer-term projects could also align cash flow with project requirements. Medium-range forecast. The MRF project, mainly from a macro perspective, the revenue and expenditure as well as financial position of the government. It has fully reflected the impact of the measures under the reinforced fiscal consolidation program. For 2025 to 26, a real economic growth rate of 2 to 3% is adopted, and that for 2026 to 27 to 2029 to 30 is about 2.9% per annum. During the above period, the average annual capital works expenditure will be about $120 billion, while recurrent government expenditure will grow at a rate of 3.5% per annum. The ratio of total government expenditure to GDP will gradually fall from about 24.4% for 2025 to 26 to about 20.9% for 2029 to 30. Regarding revenue from land premium, the forecast is made at the conservative level. From 2026 to 27 and onwards, it is assumed to be progressively rising to 2% of GDP, which is lower than the 20-year average ratio of 3.3%. I also assume that the growth rate of revenue from profits tax and other taxes will correspond to the economic growth rate in the next few years. And for the land premium, the forecast is made at a conservative level. Overall, the ratio of government revenue to GDP will maintain at about 20% starting from 2025 to 26. In addition, the MRF reflects the proceeds from the annual issuance of government sustainable bonds and infrastructure bonds worth about $150 billion to $195 billion in total. Based on the above assumptions and arrangements, the deficit in the operating account and capital account in the next 5 years will gradually reduce every year. The operating account is estimated to return to a surplus from 2026 to 27 onwards, while the deficit in the capital account will fall progressively from $159.8 billion in 2025 to 26 to $87.6 billion in 2029 to 30. After taking account of net proceeds from the issuance of bonds, the consolidated account will return to a surplus starting from 2028 and 29. The above forecast has not taken into account any tax concession measurement after 2025 to 26. Fiscal reserves are estimated at Mr. President, over the past year, the steady progress of our economy, along with the sustained growth momentum, has created favorable conditions for our future development. In the face of pressure on public finances, we have proactively taken a package of measures to strengthen fiscal management. We have every confidence and determination to overcome the challenges. Riding on the wave of technology transformation, we stay bold in taking forward reform and ready to embrace innovation. This will enable us to make the most of the breakthroughs brought about by technology innovation to accelerate the high-quality development of Hong Kong and contribute to our country. We have to start with the system, removing the constraints and bottlenecks in the course of our development, while overcoming the challenges arising from imbalanced development and uneven share of the fruit of advancement. This reinforces our belief that we must respond to challenges with transformation, drive development with innovation, and lead the future with technology. I have full confidence in and high expectation for the future of Hong Kong. I am confident because Hong Kong people are intelligent, creative, and tireless in contributing to our economic development. More importantly, it is due to the staunch and unwavering support we receive from our country. I also owe my confidence to Hong Kong people's profound insight into the major development trend of the future, as well as the city's enviable and advantageous position. The color of the cover of this year's budget is lake blue, which symbolizes a blue ocean of limitless potential for future development. It also represents the deep reserves of strength and promising prospects of high-quality economic development, which resemble the deep waters that contain enormous vitality and infinite possibilities. Together, we can shape our future with actions, break boundaries with innovation, and pitch in to create a more prosperous, caring, diverse, and international Hong Kong, unraveling a new chapter exclusively for this city and contributing to the building of China into a great country through Chinese modernization. Thank you, President, and I also thank honorable members. I now propose the question to you that the aforesaid bill be read the second time. In accordance with the rules of procedure, the debate on the second reading of the Appropriation Bill 2025 is now adjourned, and the estimates are referred to the Finance Committee for examination before the debate on the bill resumes. I now adjourn the Council until 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 19th of March, 2025.